Hello everyone, Cesar here, and today we are going to talk about capos, capo, capatoste, cejilla as it's called in Spain. This is cejuela, the knot is cejuela, the capo is cejilla, right? Anyway, capos and why it is so important to know if you're going to use them in a classical guitar, in an acoustic guitar, or in an electric guitar before you buy your capo. So don't believe the hype and stay tuned. Well, first things first, why would you use a capo? Let me show you something. I'm going to pick up my classical guitar here, my Alhambra 9P, and let me play something for you, okay? Well, this is the beginning of a very beautiful piece that I have arranged for classical guitar. I'm gonna put a card here, I think. Yes, right? Hijo de la Luna, Child of the Moon. I have played it in A minor. You saw it, right? But the original piece is written in C sharp minor. And then if we wanna play the song in the original key, but using open chords because they sound very nice in the fingerstyle arrangement, and we don't want to be barring all the time because sometimes it's going to be practically impossible to do the fingerstyle arrangement as it is, right? What we are going to do is we are going to put a capo at the 4th fret. And don't forget to tune up again every time you put your capo on. Though there are some new capos out there claiming, some companies claiming that you don't need to do that with the new capos. Well, my advice is tune up again, retune, check. Every time you put a capo on, retune. And now listen. Okay, so what we have done is we have put our capo on the 4th fret and we are playing in C sharp minor without transposing, with all the burden of transposing all the chords. That is the second reason why you may want or you may need to use a capo, and it's because you want your instrument to sound in a very particular way. Imagine, more percussive, like the flamenco guitar players. We are going to talk later about them. And there is a third reason, which for me is the most important one, is you use a capo simply because you like it and you want to use it, right? And this takes me to the next part of our conversation. There are people out there, I have seen severely absurd and stupid videos in YouTube saying that using a capo is cheating. No way, guys, no way. I'm telling you this, and I am a classically trained guitar player. I learned my guitar at the Royal Conservatory of Music in Spain. And what I can tell you is that while it's true that you won't find pure classical guitar players like Segovia or like Tárrega or John Williams, to mention one that is alive, right? Playing classical guitar, pure classical guitar using capos, you will find that many, though there are a couple of compositions for classical guitar requiring using capos, but anyway, the guy that you are seeing now, Paco de Lucia, basically was, in my opinion, and I think in the opinion of mostly everybody who plays classical guitar, one of the best, if not the best, flamenco guitar players in the world. You see the picture, he's using a capo. Flamenco guitar players use capo very often in flamenco guitars, right? So using a capo is not cheating. Paco de Lucia has never cheated when playing guitar, right? Now let's talk about different type of capos for different type of guitars, because there's a lot of hype out there. And honestly, I would like you to take good decisions for you and your gear. One thing I must say, I may mention brands. This video is not sponsored by any brand. As you know, in my channel, I don't have sponsorships, so I can talk freely about what I use, what I like, and what I dislike. So there are 3 things that you need to know before you buy a capo in order to choose the right one. The first one is the radius of your guitar fretboard. The second is how wide is the fretboard of your guitar. And the third one, which is important and sometimes people don't put attention to that, is how thick is the neck. Bender just came in and is starting to play with a ball, so probably you will hear some noises here. Now let me zoom so you can see what I'm talking about. Well, I have moved to a different setup because I realized that my t-shirt was not the perfect background for you to appreciate what I'm gonna talk about. Now, this is my shop for classical guitar, and this is my shop for acoustic and electric guitar. Fine. What are the main differences? You see, this one is flat. This part of the rubber, the one that is in contact, is going to be in contact with the fretboard, is flat because most of the classical guitars, practically all classical guitars, have a flat fretboard. And this one has a curvature to it, right? Because the acoustic and electric guitars have a radius in the fretboard. So the first thing that you need to know is that if you're going to use your capo in a classical guitar, you are going to need a capo that is flat, right? And if you're going to use your capo in an electric or an acoustic guitar, you are going to need a capo that has a curvature, right, to it. Now, the curvature is not the only difference. I think here is evident. If you look at the shop for classical guitar, you see that is wider, is larger, right, than the one for electric and acoustic guitars. And the reason being, classical guitars have a wider fretboard, right? So very important, curvature, so radius, and how wide is your fretboard. And the third one that we discussed before is how thick is your neck. And let me now zoom out a little bit. Those are the 5 capos I have. I mainly use the 2 shop, right? Now, this is the famous Victor from Dunlop that is flat, you see? Flat. And is as wide as the shop for classical guitars. So where you would use this? In a classical guitar. Why do I have this? Because I forgot mine. And I had to buy one in the closest store, right? And this was the only available option. I don't like it, but it's not because it's not good, but simply, I mean, I'm used to my shop, right? Fine. This is a terrible capo. Terrible capo. But terrible is terrible. Sometimes I cannot make it fit in some necks because, as I said, how thick is your neck is very important in order to choose the right capo because it needs to open up enough so it has a good grip and it fits the neck, right? This, the Cesar, I like it because this handle here will allow me to move the capo from one fret to another. I have several covers where I play, right, and I move the capo as I play, right? I learned that from the wonderful Tommy Emmanuel. Anyway, this is the only reason why I like this capo. Basically, what I use are my 2 shops because, first, the flat one is absolutely fantastic for classical guitar. I have it, as I said, for the very good part of 30 years. This, the other one, is great for acoustic and electric guitars, and you see, I mean, you don't have a problem with how thick is the neck because you can open it a lot, right? And those are the 2 main capos that I use. The rest, you will see me using them in very rare occasions. This one is a terrible capo, actually, this one. Don't buy it, guys. So 3 big things, okay? One is flat or radius, and in my experience and in my honest opinion, you don't need to worry too much about the number of the radius, and we are going to talk now about that. Second is how wide is your fretboard, and third, how thick is your neck. That's it. This is everything you need to know and everything you need to consider when you're going to buy your new capo. The offer on capos is massive. I have seen capos going for more than $100. If that makes you happy and makes you feel good and inspires you playing guitar, go for them. You don't need it. It's like the guys who are buying 25 or 50 US dollars picks, right? Each pick 50 US dollars. You don't need that. But if it makes you happy, fine. I mean, more power to you. I guess what I'm trying to say is your guitar is not going to sound better if you put a 120 US dollars capo. This is my shop, right? The one that I use for electric and acoustic guitars. And now let's go to the discussion about the radius. In my opinion, the only consideration you need to have, and in my experience, is if the guitar has a flat fretboard or it has a curvature to it, a radius. Don't worry that much about the number. Don't worry that much about the exact number of the radius of the guitar. And let me show you why. This is my shop, right? And this is the one that I use in all my acoustic guitars. The acoustic guitars go from 12 to 16 inches radius, most of them. But I use this capo too in this electric guitar that has a 7¼ inches radius, a lot of curvature to it, and it sounds perfectly in tune. I'm going to play open chords because most of the time is what you're going to do with the capo. And I have never had problems with tuning. Always I retune every time I put the capo on. The bottom line of my message is you don't need to spend 120 US dollars in a capo or in several capos. This one goes for about 20 and the one for classical guitar, the flat one, goes about 22. So with those two capos, I am totally done, and I think you can perfectly sail the waters of guitars and capos. Remember, gear is not necessarily going to make you a better player. It's going to inspire you to play more, and that's fine and that's perfect and more power to you. The only thing that is going to make you a better player is practicing, okay? Practice, practice, practice. Thank you very much for watching. See you very soon in my next one, and up to that moment, please play your guitars, have fun, and be good. And practice. Bye.